The United States and the EU share the same challenges in many digital areas, and it is important that we work together on those issues on both sides of Atlantic. For me, it would make sense to try to work out similar solutions, because both the EU and the US share common values, commitment to democracy being one of them. This December, the European Union is rolling out its agenda that will shape our information space for the next 20 years. Last week, we unveiled the European Democracy Action Plan. Soon, we will present the Digital Services Act and the Digital Markets Act. With the Democracy Action Plan, we try to address many hot issues. We have seen the rise of extremism, especially online, a lack of transparency and accountability of online platforms, insufficient application of rules relevant for elections in the digital world, or sometimes lack of any rules. We have seen interference in our democratic processes, and the situation of the media and safety of journalists is deteriorating. And now we are in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic, which made all those risks even stronger and more endangering. The Digital Services Act is a legislative proposal that will help us shape the online space in response to emerging risks. It proposes how platforms need to deal with illegal content and provide basic rules on advertising and algorithmic transparency. For example, very large platforms will be obliged to assess the risks their systems pose to the society. Our Democracy Action Plan complements this approach. For instance, the plan foresees the legislation on transparency in online political advertising. We studied the Honest Ads Act that served us as inspiration. We are convinced that people must know why they are seeing an ad, who paid for it, how much, what micro-targeting criteria were used. New technologies should be tools for emancipation, not for manipulation. This is also why we will look at limiting the micro-targeting criteria. Then we are also looking at the situation in the media. We see that not only economic situation is getting worse, but also we see more political pressure and safety of journalists is deteriorating. Therefore, I will present an initiative on abusive litigation against journalists. We will also increase financial support to fund cross-border journalistic investigations. The last element of the plan are our new actions to counter disinformation. I have to stress that these actions firmly respect fundamental rights, including freedom of speech. There will be no censorship, as we are not looking to ban or remove disinformation content. But at the same time, we cannot be naive and pretend there is no problem. In your recent report, CEPA looked at the transatlantic dimension of response to disinformation. Our plan shares many of the same observations, and we also share many of the recommendations of this report. The nature of disinformation is that it is patiently delivered to our information system, exploring existing divisions and undermining trust to democracy. Disinformation is like a salt slowly put in our wounds, but its nature is also constantly evolving. Our response must capture this. This is why we are proposing to make a change by equipping ourselves both with defensive and offensive tools. I would like to equip the EU with the tool to impose costs on those who penetrate our systems with malicious intention. The producers of disinformation cannot remain untouched. Then we also need much more from the channels where disinformation is distributed, especially online platforms. We need a new anti-disinformation pact with platforms, advertisers, websites and the civil society to improve accountability of algorithms, to stop allowing platforms and websites making money on disinformation, to design better ways to deal with manipulation through bots or with the use of fake accounts. Finally, we will look at recipients of disinformation, meaning the citizens. Honestly, this plan is all about them. The long-term solution lies in education and in media literacy. I see a very strong transatlantic dimension in all those actions. I think we need an alliance and cooperation of democracies. This is why we are taking the initiative to design a new transatlantic agenda fit for today's global landscape. I welcome the idea of Joe Biden for a summit for democracy, and we are ready to play our full part in it. I believe we are coming to a moment in history where a lot of our decisions will have to factor the common values. You can see this approach in the debate about technology, for instance on artificial intelligence or 5G. Democracy cannot be taken for granted anymore, neither in the US nor in the EU. Ultimately, the beauty of democracy is that it is a free choice, a choice that we make every day, not only during an election day. Our choice is to care for it. This is why I count on a constructive approach, not only from all corners of Europe, but with all like-minded countries, including the United States, to defend our democracy, because, as an old saying goes, there is no strength without unity.